right, let me go ahead and kick us off today. We still have some people sort of filtering in from the waiting room, but we'll let them settle in as we go along today. But I want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to TMR's Master Advisor series. Today is October 21st, 2021, and this is episode 40 for us at TMR. We're going to be speaking about luxury travel today, and we have Angela Hughes here to joining us. But I want to make a few announcements first, very quickly, before we get into the topic. The first is that speaker view is going to be the best way to watch today's session, and the chat is open. So please drop questions and comments in there. The last episode we really had a lot of interactions in there, and it does add a lot to the conversation. So please don't be shy. We have people monitoring the Facebook stream too. So if you're watching this on Facebook, please drop your comments and questions in there too, and we're going to do our best to get to them today. Just speaking of that last episode with Jamie Mussolini on destination weddings and romance travel, that is available now for free on demand on both our YouTube and our training pages. We're going to drop the link in the chat now if you want to sub to that YouTube. Subbing and liking helps us keep growing this community of travel advisors. So any interactions on that page or on our training page are greatly appreciated. And I do want to announce that we will be back here in 2 weeks to talk about hiring ICs with Julie Lanham. And we know that's a topic so many of you have requested. And we're excited to offer that for you in 2 weeks. And we're going to get that registration link out later today. Okay. So today I am very, very happy to welcome Angela Hughes of Trips and Ships Luxury Travel to Master Advisor to talk about luxury travel. Angela's been selling travel for 35 plus years since she was a teenager working at her parents' agency. She specializes in bespoke curated experience, most of which are luxury, and she's here to give us her expertise and to answer your questions. So I want to welcome her and say thank you so much for lending us your time today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, I want to get into luxury travel, but I just want to tackle a couple of things first. I want to give you a little chance to introduce yourself to everyone on the call and tell us a little bit about your background. I know I mentioned some of it, but I want to give you the opportunity to say what you want to say.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Actually, like I said, I've been in travel since I was a kid, since I was like 14, starting out delivering brochures and tickets to people and just doing all the garbage work. And then started like selling charter tickets for Dave Neeleman because he was a part of my parents' agency. He ran the Morris Air Service side and then sold that to Southwest. And so I got my early lessons from some real big pioneers in the industry. But I actually did go to college for travel and tourism and hospitality. I have a master's degree in hospitality and tourism and geography from Brigham Young University, and I was a professor of tourism too for many years, and even taught in 2020 virtually for them during the pandemic. And so I have an educational background, but a selling background as well. And so I've kind of been all over the board in terms of different things in the industry. It's always selling, but educating a lot as well. And that's how my program, the Luxury Travel University, came to be. That's kind of my educational program on the side. So
Yeah, that seems like an incredibly unique experience because I meet so many travel advisors who are either second careers
yeah,
or have picked this up at following a different educational path.
yeah.
Do you feel unique having that background and going into college and studying travel and tourism?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that because back in my day, now I'm way older than you, but back in the day, you used to have to go to school. I mean, there was a qualifier to come into the industry, and now there's not much barrier. And I feel like that's really hindering the growth of a lot of agents because they don't have that educational background. So they're always kind of trailing um, behind, trying to figure out how to develop a business, how to be strategic, how to do marketing funnels and different things, where those were pieces that we used to study and move forward with. And so that's why I kind of developed the Luxury Travel University as a training program for people and a private consulting business to help agents grow and develop their business, because I feel like that was such a missing piece for them.
Yeah, that is great, and I know the training aspect of careers are just so incredibly important now, and I know that a lot of people are trying to fill that gap. So it's great to hear it's great to hear about your background. And I also want to ask you because when we spoke earlier in the week, you were in Costa Rica, and I think it's great for advisors to hear about personal travel experiences, especially right now. I'm curious, What was it like traveling to and from Costa Rica, and how did it compare to previous trips? I know you took one during the pandemic too, previous trips in the past.
Yeah, so I think pretty much the paperwork was the biggest pain kind of in traveling a year ago to Costa Rica and even last June. Now, if you're vaccinated, the form's very easy to fill out. It was difficult kind of 6 months ago because you had to have the insurance and so forth. So now if you're a vaccinated traveler, it's super easy. Just to give you an idea where I've been this year, I've been to Tanzania 3 times, Uganda twice, Kenya. I've been to the
Wow.
Galapagos. I've been to Italy. I've spent a month in Greece. I've been in Turkey. I'm headed to Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa tomorrow. So I've been through a lot of different airports and a lot of procedures and a lot of QR codes. And I think the QR code is the biggest stumbling block for almost every trip right now, but it's doable. So
Yeah, that's what because I was recently in Mexico, and it was that the biggest hang up was making sure I had those 4 or 5
right,
items on the pre-travel checklist. And I
right.
know, like, I flew United, and United prepared me for that, and also the supplier I
Right.
was going with prepared me for that. But is that you mentioned the biggest stumbling block? Those are the biggest stumbling blocks right now, just making sure you have all that paperwork
You just
and
have to
being
be
as
more
prepared as
prepared
possible.
and have things printed off. So you need to be prepared. So tell your clients, get prepared. Have and you've got to work on it maybe 48 hours in advance. So you're not falling behind, especially with the PCR test internationally. I had an antigen test to come back in, couldn't get the PCR until late last night. So I did 2 tests yesterday and it cost a lot. I spent over $800 in COVID testing in August alone.
Oh my God. That
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like you
I
gotta
don't
have a new career just to pay for the COVID testing.
Yeah, that I know, and again, I know there's resorts, there's particular resorts and suppliers who will take care of that for you. But I think that's a lot of consumers don't realize that the people who are now traveling more often than not, which I know a lot of advisors on this call are constantly traveling too. There is an extra cost now to make sure you're safe and make sure you're abiding by all the requirements.
But here's what I say about it, Dan. It's to you guys' benefit because now there is a lot to do. And so now they're coming to you because you're going to guide and direct them with that. So on one hand, I'm complaining about it, but on the other hand, I'm like, it's complicated enough that people need advice for that. So
Yeah, I know. I know when I was coming in through customs, especially going to Mexico, there was a
mhm.
lot of people getting offline because they had to fill out their forms on their phone and they didn't realize they had the QR codes you spoke about too. So advisors are needed more than ever, just like you said.
Exactly.
So let's get into luxury travel because I know that's what a lot of advisors on the call today are wanting to hear about. You have such a expansive background in travel and in the luxury segment. I wanted to give you an opportunity to give us your definition of luxury travel and how you think it's changed since the onset of COVID.
Well, first of all, I don't think even luxury travel exists in a way because I feel like we lump everything into this big box. Like, as so many advisors come to me and they're like, I want to sell luxury travel. And I ask them that same question, what does that mean to you? Because luxury looks different for everybody. But on an educational standpoint, I'd say there's many different levels of that. I'd say the first part is like accessible luxury, and that's constantly evolving. Where there's this middle class of consumers who want a taste of luxury, and guess what? Everybody can give themselves a raise if they took their mass market people and just bumped them up to a premium resort or a premium cabin on a ship. That's an instant way that you guys can like be making more money. That's not definitely selling luxury, so to speak. I
Yeah.
call it accessible luxury, and that's what we probably call it academically. And that's a good box to be in because so many people are in the mass market arena. If you want to give yourself a raise, just bump them up to a premium product right there. And that's an easy step to do that. Even if you don't feel, the biggest excuse is people feel like they don't have the clients to do that, but you do. So take your mass market clients and bump them up a level. And then I call the next group kind of the aspirational. So they're the consumers who are a little more financially secure. They want to enhance maybe their status or their self-worth or have more of an authentic experience. And so they're willing to pay the big bucks, but they still may be a little bit guarded. Now we're kind of working in the $15,000 to $30,000 range. And then I feel like there is really the luxurious traveler who really has no problem. They're going to be your high net worth individuals that are making millions and they don't have a problem spending. It's not really a question about budget or lifestyle, so to speak. And so I think there's levels of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much I want to get into today. I want to talk about products and suppliers, but first I want to talk about sort of the advisor side of this
Okay.
because you mentioned getting a clients to a certain level and qualifying them as however you want to define luxury. I'm curious, do you have any tips for finding luxury clients, for finding clients who are going to drive those high commissions for you and those high net worth clients? I know they come from all sort of parts of society and all sort of marketing bases too. But I'm curious if you had any tips for the advisors on the call.
Well, I have so many tips, and I feel like
Okay.
this could be like a year-long class almost. One of the things I feel like you need to do before you even decide that you're going to go out and find those clients is you need to have a strategy
Okay.
and a sales strategy that works. And that's going to start with a business development plan and also looking at your marketing funnels. And we can talk more about the marketing funnels in a minute, but the piece that people are missing 90% of the time when they come to me privately for a consulting session. So not my clients, but the advisors who hire me as a consultant. When they come to me, I'll say to them like, they always come and go, I want to sell more. I'm loving this. I want to travel, all of these different things. And I'm like, if you're in travel, just to travel, you're in the wrong business. You need to be in travel because you want to run a business, you want to be an entrepreneur, and you want to be passionate about what you do. Because attraction, if you're passionate about something, people, you're like a magnet. People want to hear you, they want to listen to you, they want to be around you. And it's the same with your clients. You'll attract whatever you put out there. So I always say two things: get a business development plan. Okay. And then two, clean up what's ever inside of you, because a lot of things that are holding advisors back from being amazing and attracting great customers or clients is all locked up inside of them. It's a matter of confidence, fear, being on video, so many roadblocks that hold people back from being outstanding.
Okay.
So that's just one thing. Now, you go ahead, Tom or Dan.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt at all.
The
But yeah, I
second
mean, I
piece,
mean,
once you kind of have that business development plan, the second thing would be understanding your why you're in the business of doing things. Why are you doing it? And then start to like niche up and specialize. Now, niching up doesn't mean, again, the blanket statement, I sell luxury travel or I sell river cruise. What you're doing is you're targeting in on a potential type of client. Like for me, it's so specific. For me, it's orthopedics. I mean, that's what my family's in. That's what my husband's in, orthopedic devices. And so that's a really great arena for me because I meet a lot of orthopedic surgeons. The others, financial advisors. The others are executives. I have over 100 CEOs just on my list that we market to. And then I have about 20 high net worth individuals that have sold tech companies. And I really narrow down on them. But what about just families, like your neighbors, your friends? I have those so segmented too. Now I'll give you guys a tip of something that I did the other day that in like 5 minutes netted $1,200. I literally made a thing on Canva that just said, hey, it's time to book your back to school trip. Put my agency's name on there. And I text it to 20 of my families. It took me about 5 minutes. So you got to get into text relationships with people. Okay. So you're just not emailing things all the time. Because when you want to market to people and you want to segment to people, you've got to get specific with that. And so I literally just took that Canva that I made, cut and pasted it. I just texted it to 20 families, 25 families that were segmented on my list. One came back to me, just one of them. And she said, we're ready. Let's book beaches, Turks and Caicos. We wanted to do that before the pandemic. That was a $1,200 commission. Took me 15 minutes. Hi, I'm $1,200 richer. Loved it. That's so easy. And you can do that with whatever segment. So if you're sending out an email list, blasting it to 3,000 of your closest friends on your list, and that doesn't work. Only maybe 30% of that email list is even being seen for one. And you need a target. So now you need to have a target market for the niche that you want to sell. And so if your niche is, and your niche can be several things in the premium space. I do Africas, I do Europe, I do the Galapagos, the Maldives. And so pick destinations that are luxurious that you want to sell in, do all you can, and then target in on them really specifically. It's not enough to just be like, I do an email blast or I post on Facebook. and we can talk more about that marketing funnel and what that looks like too. So
Yeah, I mean that I have so many things I do want to get to today. And I want to know about sort of the people on the call too. I know we have about 40 advisors on the call. I mean, if you want to drop in the chat if luxury is your primary business, and if you are in luxury, what kind of niches are you serving? So we can sort of get an idea who we have on the call. But I mean, Angela, you mentioned the clients you have, the CEOs, the tech companies, the orthopedic surgeons, and things like that. I know a lot of advisors on the call heard that and their eyes widened because those are the kind of clients they want. And I know a lot of them might have difficulty be finding those clients, and even I know you mentioned groups of clients that aren't necessarily connected to your husband's profession. Um, how do you find these people? How do you get these people as part of your client base?
yeah, really, really great question. And I get that a lot. It's got to be a common characteristic of what you're involved in. When I was younger, honestly, I was doing a lot more of the family market because those were the types of people we were socializing with, people at games, people at sporting events, people at my children's schools and different things like that. And so you go through different stages where you kind of evolve. If you're not actively out there, like communicating with these types of people, it's going to be a hard sell just to find them, because at the beginning of a marketing funnel, you have things like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and so forth. So first of all, if you want to get into the higher end market, even the higher end family market, let's say you're 35 and you're on the call, you're a fairly new advisor, you've done a lot of all inclusives. You know, places that you need to be for professionals who are usually buying, and I call them professionals because they usually are, although we have some drug money too. So I don't know if that counts. We've got some people that we don't ask them what they do, but they pay. Yeah, so Facebook and LinkedIn definitely to attract those if you're dropping social media, and you need to be consistent with that. And we've had all types of dialogues about that over COVID on every webinar. But the other thing is really developing a digital marketing strategy for them. The bigger thing is working your way all the way through the marketing funnel. So the marketing funnel will have like the social media and the cold attractions at first, the social media, the stories, TikTok, whatever you're using to attract people. And then as you start, I'll give you a scenario. Like I have somebody that follows me. It's a friend of ours who went to Harvard. He went to undergraduate with us, and he's a CEO of a company. And one day I had just posted my story. I think you have to be like so authentic in storytelling on Facebook so people understand what you're doing. I always tell advisors, if you're constantly just posting, 17 rooms at Sandals and, the bathroom and everything, people hate that. They don't care. They want to know more about you because they're buying you. So they're naturally going to be attracted to you. And so you've got to be able to expand that circle. Get off your Facebook page, get onto your Facebook feed. And that's where you should be sharing yourself. I have kind of a 70-20-10 rule, like 70% should be content that you think would attract, that's organic. 20% that would be attracted to the types of people you're trying to target. Okay. And then 10% can be about yourself, because people want to buy you. They're buying you as an advisor. They want to love you. They want to get to know you. They want to know that you're honest. So back to my husband, or back to our friend from Harvard. I noticed that he was at LeBlanc on a founder's trip for his company. So I just hit him a message and I was like, oh my gosh, Roger, I know that you read my post the other day and commented on it, but maybe you didn't know we work with over 100 CEOs. And that could be anything. Maybe you could just say, if you don't work with 100 CEOs, I said, we work with 100 CEOs. We would love to have a chance to do your LeBlanc trip in the future. So today he had posted on Instagram. He's like, hey, we set our dates for LeBlanc. Now they're going to do Cabo next year. And I just commented again, like, oh, hey, keep us in mind for that. So I'm kind of like warming up. Now we're in this middle stage of warming up where we're having more conversations about it. He actually sent me a message on Facebook Messenger and he's like, I'm going to keep that in mind. So now we're having a dialogue with it. So sometimes conversion can take some time. Maybe I won't get it next year. But the bigger thing is, once you get a client, having them become the marketer for you is so key, because then they refer. I have a high-tech Uber high net worth individual that I was telling Dan about yesterday. He spent $200,000 this year in travel, but she referred a group of 300,000 plus. Okay. second group we got off of a Facebook post that I did when I was in Costa Rica back in June. So it was just my Facebook stories. I had been grooming him. He runs an athletic department at a university. He was a roommate of my husband's in college. We all went to the same college together. My husband was a college football player. He actually went to the pros. Very downhearted person. We're still friends with him. For years, I've been like, hey, let me get your trip. Let me get your trip. Oh, the university does it. Don't worry about it. We're all good in-house, blah, blah, blah. You know, we stay friends. That's the thing. You never know. Sometimes it can take years. He saw me in Costa Rica in June, just doing stories. And he's like, oh my goodness, we're going to take this alumni group to Costa Rica. Could you do it for us? Another $300,000 group. That's just like 2 groups this year, you guys. And that's the thing. That took 3 years to get that client. Higher net worth individuals take time. And so if you came from kind of a job where you had a salary or even minimum wage or whatever, don't be expecting to make 10,000 in the first 30 days of this job. You know, it takes years to develop clients. And that's why you've got to have that business development plan and nurture people through a sequence of marketing. And you'll get them just, I mean, that came off of social media. When he was ready, I was ready. And so my biggest advice for you is you need to show up before they show up. You know, I showed up with, hey, school break, and got one Turks and Caicos off that. That was a good day for me. That was a good hour for me the other day. So show up before they show up and start nurturing them. And then you may have to get into some digital marketing strategies because high net worth individuals spend a lot of time on social media. And so you do want to be targeting them if you're going to go cold and you don't really have a chance to meet them. But let me tell you what, yesterday, not all high net worth individuals buy. I had a doctor yesterday buy a Carnival cruise. And I was like, hello, $80. I wanted to cry. You know, why did they buy Carnival? Because it was in their backyard in South Carolina. So you can't assume that just because people are, you know, higher profile that they're not going to spend less sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
So I just want to jump in there, Angela. No, I think we're getting a lot of great stuff here today. One thing I do want to mention is you mentioned Canva, and we spoke about that with Melissa Mackey, and I'll see if someone on my team can pull that up. But Melissa sort of walked us through Canva and a couple other apps that you can use for easy digital marketing strategy. So we'll see if we can drop that link in the chat. And then I do want to read out a couple comments that came in a couple minutes ago that I think will sort of keep the conversation going. And this one I think goes to what you spoke about, Angela, about getting mid-market clients up a level, getting luxury clients up a level, and just raising every level. Andrea in the chat says she provides clients with tours to Africa, and mostly they're high to mid-range tours. She says her biggest problem are that clients want a champagne safari on a beer budget. And I'm curious if you have any words of wisdom for that issue. When you do have clients who are looking for a luxury experience, but aren't yet willing or don't realize that they have to pay for that kind of experience.
Yeah, one of the strategies and models that my own host agency uses, I'm a host myself, my agency. I have a lot of DMC partners. And so I've gone out to all the destinations in Africa and built my own relationships there. And I can help refer those to you as well, who those vendors are. But I literally have vendors who can give me an Abercrombie and Kent experience for probably 35% off. I mean, down to the white labeling. I look like I have my own Jeeps there, my water bottles, and the folder looks just like Abercrombie and Kent. I've designed everything, you know, to be Jeffrey Kent's competitor. And he doesn't even know it. But we are selling a lot more Africa because we can bring that price way down. And so if you're looking at a lot of US suppliers, and I hope there's no US suppliers on the call because they're going to hate me for saying this, you know, sometimes you got to go direct to the DMCs and find the right partners on the ground. I've got those partners for you if you want to do a value add with that are highly vetted. Now that comes with an issue though, because not all host agencies let you use people that are not on their list, or if they're out of the Virtuoso or Travel Leaders model and so forth, because they want you to buy into what the Virtuoso is selling. And sometimes it's a money processing issue as too, because how your particular agency processes the money. So that's not always an option for people. I've made that a clear model at my agency, that people could do that. They can charge a service fee to sell that. And then we're landing a lot more Africa business because of that, because we can bring in the price just a little bit lower than what we're getting at Mikado or somebody. So
yeah, and we're gonna let me drop if we can drop Angela's contact info, because we have someone in Andrea actually asking if she can connect with you later, and we'll drop your website in the chat just so everyone has it. Yeah, I do. So I want to ask about other suppliers and products that are exciting for this segment, but something you mentioned the other day when we had our prep call was that one of the things you do with your clients is do this 5-year plan, and it's not a financial 5-year plan, it's a 5-year plan for travel. And I thought that was an incredibly interesting thing to think about, to have a goal and financially plan for the kind of travel you want to tick off on your bucket list. I'm curious if you could talk to us about that and how that started it and how you go through that communication with your clients.
Yeah, actually, I still that idea. It's not really key to me. It's key to like every financial advisor. If you guys have ever worked with a financial advisor, they always put you on a 5-year plan. And I think that's a brilliant idea. A 5 to 10 year plan for travel. Because what I'll say to my clients is like, let's look at 5 years and see what you want to do. So I was telling Dan about one of my clients, like this year they've done Greece and Costa Rica, and they probably drop between those two trips, I'd say about $55,000. And he's a younger company, he owns his own company in urban planning and still has like teenage kids and so forth. And so we're looking for kind of family based trips. Now he started out a couple of years ago just doing the Hard Rock and the Palace and Hawaii. And so see, people grow into destination. Like you can take some of these family clients that you've got now and your Sunsea and Sun clients, and you can move them through to bigger destinations as you work with them. So if you're just starting out and you're selling a lot of those all-inclusives, don't be discouraged, because you're going to grow with your clients. And so we kind of have a plan. And I know South Africa is on his list, and they want to do Iceland, and they want to do Tahiti. And he just came back from Greece, and he's like, we really want to take our son, who's not going to be able to go next year because of his college program. So could we wait a year? And they're just going back to beaches, Turks and Caicos, and that's fine, because I know that South Africa is going to be the next year. And that's the thing, like if they have a plan and they know they're working towards something. I just did it with a client, a brand new client that came as a referral from somebody I just looked by. She was on social media. So this is good attraction. You might think you don't have the clients, but if you're consistently showing up every day and posting and showing your passion, and people like love you as a person, all of a sudden they're going to refer their sister-in-law, who's just a nurse practitioner, but she says, we have about $15,000 a trip that we want to spend. And right now we haven't traveled for a couple of years, so we've got more. And they just booked yesterday morning, a 15-day Viking cruise. That was easily $2,200 in commission for us. Referral from someone on Facebook. So it wasn't even my friends, I don't even know them. It came off a friend of a friend. So referrals are really important. I put her on the 5-year plan. So they're having so much fun kind of deciding like what we want to do the next 5 years. And you know what that does? It kind of keeps us together.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. I mean, that seems to be an obvious thing to keep that client loyalty, to keep that client coming back, because when you take your bucket list African safari vacation in 5 years, you've already spoken about that with your advisor, and you're going to go back to him or her to book that vacation.
Yeah, and then the thing is, you can cater that information to her as you see things. Maybe it's a postcard, maybe it's a text. Hey, here's 10 things to do in Tahiti. I know you're thinking about it for 2023, but it's so fun to start planning. You can kind of start nurturing that relationship along. I think the worst types of sells are just a quick email. Dan, I keep wanting to call you Tom, and I keep thinking Tom's your cousin, and he's not your cousin.
No.
He's on the call too. So do you care if I just tell a quick strategy for like a beginning?
No, please. I'm sure people would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think with luxury travelers, you got to treat them and premium travelers, you got to treat them just a little bit different than your friend that texts you and says, I want a trip. My strategy is I always do a 15-minute call. So even if they text me or email me or message me, I don't send them an intake form. And I know that's against the grain of a lot of advisors, but guess what? The best relationships are built when you're having a one-on-one human conversation with people. That's how we used to do things humanly. And so make that 15-minute call, because in that 15-minute call, you can get a lot of information from that person, and you're getting feelings, you're getting feedback, and then you can introduce that service fee too. And my fees will range anywhere from $300 to $2,000, depending. And then airline tickets anywhere from $75 to $200 a ticket. And so there you can introduce your fee. And if you're charging super low fees, like $50, $100, stop and, be confident, because you can charge more. And the excuse I always get is like, well, I don't have that much experience, or I don't have the clients. Yes, you do. You know what? When you're demanding respect when you charge. And I'll always say to people, hey, why don't you hit me a message and we'll see if you're the right fit for our consulting business. And then they're kind of like, oh, wait, what if we're not the right, what if we're not the right fit? So it kind of creates a demand a little bit of scarcity. Like, let me see if you're the right fit for me, because we might not be the right agency for you. Instead of feeling so desperate that you got to take everything.
Yeah,
So.
I know there's a lot of fears. We've done a lot of sessions on fees, and I know there's a lot of fears when it goes into starting a fee-based business, or having that initial conversation with clients about fees. But you don't seem to have any of those nerves or anything. I'm curious, how long have you been charging fees for?
Well, it's interesting because we were a brick and mortar for a long time. We never charged fees. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, the fee thing really came to be probably 5-6 years ago. I mean, people didn't run their agency on fees, like even in the early 2000s, or, probably 2010 to 2015, people didn't charge fees. In fact, this is so funny. Like back in the day, if you sold a Royal Caribbean and you sold a balcony, that was considered a premium back then. In the early 2000s, like, oh my gosh, we sold a balcony, because people just would be buying an inside or an outside cabin, and balcony was considered, or a mini suite was like, oh my gosh, you just sold a premium. So we've evolved so much, luxury, like we never talked luxury travel 5 years ago. That wasn't really a buzzword, so.
Yeah, so I wanna speak about that too, about the sort of evolution of the luxury product offerings, because I know every few years, like you mentioned, there's a new buzzword, there's a new buzz destination coming out, there's a new place that consumers want to go. I know you mentioned the Galapagos. I know that was trending pretty heavily because we had all these new products and all these new cruise ships coming out, particularly specifically for that region. I'm curious, from where you're sitting amongst your clients and in the industry, what do you see as sort of the buzz destination or the buzz product for the luxury segment moving forward?
Really, I think for the higher end consumer, it's anything authentic that solves their problem. So when I say solves their problem, they want to be in destinations that their friends aren't. And I don't know if it's a snotty thing, but people like exclusivity.
Okay.
So I think I was telling you that someone called me and just said, hey, we want Coota, which is an island and a resort in the Maldives. Thursday, they hit me a text. They paid $25,000 that night for that only, and went there on Saturday. I mean, that's how fast it went. So it's short. Right now we're doing really short booking windows on things for people. Same people turn around and spent $50,000 on a safari. They're the ones that have spent like $200,000. They just want things that are relaxing, help them get away from the grind. They don't want crowded destinations. They don't want what the neighbor does. They're not going to do probably the French Riviera on a Royal Caribbean cruise. They're just not going to do those types of things. I mean, they want things that are going to take them to like Sharm el-Sheikh right now. Like I'm doing a Greece group with CEOs right now, or I'm sorry, Egypt. And a lot of them just want that Sharm el-Sheikh extension. They want the snorkeling, the scuba diving. I mean, they want things. Everybody wants the UNESCO sites, but in the same breath, they want something that just sets it apart. So they'll add on the Sharm el-Sheikh portion just to be like, we're in Sharm el-Sheikh, which is no big deal for Europeans, but it's a big deal for Americans right now,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is a big, I know, you mentioned social media with the high net worth clients, and I think it seems like they want the destinations that are going to pop on their social media too, and the people that people are going to be jealous about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, okay, so this is a tip for you guys. A lot of high net worth people are on social media, but you wouldn't know they're on social media. So they're following and watching, but they are less likely to post because they don't want to give away too much of their private life. And so they're watching you, but you're not necessarily watching them because they're more private with what they put out there for security, protection, whatever reasons. So a lot of doctors are not on social media. My own brother, who's a surgeon, is not on social media. My other brother's wife, who's a dentist, she's not on social media. So you got to look creatively, because sometimes it's a tight crowd to break into. But again, it can come off of a referral. So might be your aunt, and all of a sudden she's working with somebody and she's like, oh my gosh, my niece is a travel agent. And don't call yourself an agent, call yourself an advisor. And she can do Viking cruises for you, or whatever the brand is. I just threw that up.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned alumni groups. I think that's a great place to start. I mean, the industry itself has so many gatherings and so many conferences. I mentioned I was just at Ascend for Apple Leisure Group Vacations, and there was 700 or so people there. So I think just networking, keeping those networks going, and keeping those relationships as healthy as possible seems to be one of the biggest tips you have.
Yeah, I think building your authority. Now I know you're all going to hate me for saying this, but get on video. And why I say video, and this is a problem where it becomes like an internal conflict with yourself, because a lot of people don't love seeing themselves on video. It was actually a savior for me during COVID because I was literally not waking up. I'm not dressing in sweats, eating chocolate chip cookie dough, and I was like, I need a purpose right now because I was kind of like in really like COVID depression with the industry. And by June, so after we kind of canceled everything in June, I just started going live on video and did over 52 lives on video. And that was huge. That was
What,
huge.
on Facebook?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, did over 52 like 45-minute segments with different vendors, with different tips, anything. And I still run them. I just did one this morning at 9 o'clock, just a 3-minute tip. You know what that does? That builds authority. So people think you know what you're talking about, even if you don't know what you're talking about, and it's okay. You're not a fraud. So you need to get over this. I'm a fraud. I don't have enough experience to talk about this, or I'm an imposter. But the great thing is, when people see you on video, video has so much authority, like in the algorithm. And it has so much authority with people who are following you. It's a huge success. Let me give you a tip. One of my own advisors does. She's in book clubs. And I love this about her. She runs a virtual book club every single week. And she's got a lot of business off that. Just sold an Alexander and Roberts, did a Backroads with somebody, did a river cruise off of that. She talks about the books on Clubhouse and brings people in there. You got another booking there. I was like, that is brilliant. And so we've kind of taken her business development plan of just wanting to sell more luxury travel and turn it into taking her passion of books and carving trips around different books that they read. I'm working with somebody else who's moving over to our agency, who does the same thing like in the scuba segment. So you can take whatever your passion is and then combine that with what you love in travel. For me, it was humanitarian work. So for years, we ran nonprofit humanitarian trips up until COVID, for up to 6 weeks in the summer, from India, Nepal, Peru, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Dominica. And we targeted, and we didn't make any money on these, and that was the best thing about it, but humanitarian trips, because we wanted to give back more. And so we took teens and early college kids, then their parents started coming. And so giving back is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I do want to just mention going off that is I was lucky enough to attend Nextion's Connection conference, and they spotlighted someone who was able to turn her love of knitting into a pretty big niche by partnering with a knitting influencer and sort of gathering groups that way. So I'm sure there's, again, we have like about 45 people on the call, and there's so many interests and so many passions out there that it's something easy to find. I do want to grab these comments and questions in the chat just because I promised I would at the beginning of the call. I know we've sort of sped through this. So we have a question. We have a couple of comments about fees.
Okay.
But we've tackled that topic a lot. We do have one that maybe we can grab quickly. It's from Aaron, and he wants to know, do you charge upfront consulting fees over and above ticketing fees?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, we call it a design fee. And let me be clear, sometimes I don't charge it. I don't charge it on my high net worth people, because if they're spending 50,000, I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's 500 on top of that. I'm just not. We're already making 8,000 on that safari. I'm not gonna nickel and dime like my top people that I know are gonna buy. Where the best place to charge fees is in your low hanging fruit, because they're the tire kickers. Your $2,500 to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 client, they will spend more time and life and energy that you can never get back. That's where you should be charging your fees, folks.
And I know you mentioned video, Angela, but another Angela in the chat, she asked for tricks for increasing social media followers. Is there anything else that you haven't told us already that you want to share?
Yeah, you got to be consistent every day. So I'm a big believer in Facebook groups versus Facebook pages. Have a page, because you can hook your Instagram to the page, but also have a group that extends off that, because in the group algorithm, or I'm sorry, in the page algorithm, probably less than 2% are seeing your post because they're not interacting with your material. And so many client or agents will come to me and they'll be like, nobody, I post every single day, and I'm not getting anything. Well, that's because nobody's seeing it. Groups are better because you can add all your friends to the groups. They can decide if they want to be there, and then it's interactive. They can be having conversations about it. They can share it. I like to keep my groups open, so they can share my content as well. And then of course I would do your Instagram videos, because that'll move over to Facebook. That'll also post to your page for you. And you can see the insights. I can see every day my insights in my Facebook group to see how many people viewed that. And then I can kind of determine what type of social media I want. If you're just out there buying social media kits from different consultants or coaches, I'm a little leery on that, because if everybody's posting kind of the same content that they've bought, then it weighs down the algorithm as well. You don't need to be an algorithm pro about this. Original buys, original content buys, video buys in social media. Okay, so if you're just pulling, and like today, I just copied like my sandals rep and just posted whatever he put out there because I just didn't have time. That's fine. That can be part of the equation too, but as original as you can be, that's the best method, I think.
Yeah, and then we have one more, and I think this will be a quick one. Stephanie wants to know, is travel insurance important with medical coverage for these exotic places that we were speaking about just a couple of minutes ago?
That's a great question. And travel insurance should be number one on your list with every trip that you sell. So let me tell you what my booking procedure is. We give a quote out, then we send a script out that says, is everything correct? Do you have your passport or the name's correct? Do you have 6 months on it? Here's a link for the CDC. Here's a link for to register with Smart Traveler. That's the US government. So they know that you're like in Egypt or somewhere. The second question is, here is our link for Allianz travel insurance or Travel Guard, whatever you're selling. And then the third thing is, we're going to send you a DocuSign with our terms and agreements. So our terms and agreements, a waiver to accept or decline travel insurance, and then whatever you want to send out to them. And so that goes out with every single quote. Travel insurance is that is something you want to be selling, because that's quick revenue up to, like, for me, 27% with the supplier. And so yes, you should always have travel insurance when you go abroad. Over the last 25 years, I've seen a million different reasons why you need travel insurance.
Yeah. People
when you
forget
buy
about
it, you never need it. When you don't
well,
have
even
it,
the world before COVID. It's fairly obvious that was needed before then too.
Yeah, that's not a new COVID thing. COVID, it's so tricky with COVID, what's covered and what's not covered. But overall, I always tell people, like, and this is a big seller, this is a tip that I'll tell people, like, usually your health insurance is not good abroad. And right when they hear that, they're like, what? So.
I think those are all the questions. If anyone has any more questions or comments, drop them in the chat, and we might be able to grab another couple before we wrap up today. But we spoke about how to find clients. We spoke a little bit about destinations and suppliers. I'm curious, what's the other side of that like, Angela? How has the experience of dealing with a luxury advisor changed over the years, do you think? What are the expectations when you do have one of these high net worth clients, and when it comes to communication and marketing and just general client outreach?
Yeah, you really got to be on 24/7. I'll have people. Last night I did a doctor, they did 2 rooms at LeBlanc for January. He's literally texting me like at 9:30, and because they work a lot of hours, and so they're just doing it when they're on the off. And so I think if you don't want to be on call a lot, then you've got to figure out if that's for you. But it's a luxury concierge business. When you're providing all of these different things for them, you need to be available to answer those questions. It doesn't mean you have to kill yourself, though. That's where I use DMCs. So they're handling everything on the ground. Like those same clients, that urban planner who was in Greece, their flight got delayed, their ferry got changed. She handled all of that for me. And that's why I like to turn it over to the supplier. So once they're kind of on the road, it's not my job anymore. But in the beginning, I'd love to have the interaction. I'm glad. And like I said before, have a text relationship with people instead of just emailing back and forth all the time. The minute I take a client in, or I acquire a client, I'll text them and go, hey, I just sent you off an email. Make sure you've got it. Cause I notice my emails sometimes go to spam and I'll think I'm not hearing back from them and they just didn't even get the email.
Yeah.
And then we kind of have this texting thing going. And then you can be like, okay, here's a hot tip that I do. I'll drop them a Travify sometimes. Hey, we've got this river cruise going next year. I thought you might like it. And I'll just drop the Travify on there.
In the text?
In the text, yeah, the Travify link, it'll come up. This worked. In COVID, in March, we sold a river cruise group in March while we were canceling everything. I think we were the only ones at Alma that booked a group. So everybody was canceling, we booked a group. And we also booked a Trafalgar Christmas market group on that strategy, because we couldn't really go online. Remember, it was kind of, nobody's selling travel, everybody's canceling. We went out to a handful of clients and I just text them and I was like, I've got this, because we weren't really sure how long this was going to go on and people bought. So while we were canceling, we were booking. So I love that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's strange because you mentioned in the beginning of the call, make sure you start off the relationship with an actual phone call,
Yeah.
and then it seems like when you're maintaining the relationship, you're moving to the other end of the spectrum, which is text.
They don't have time to talk to you after you move from the beginning. They're busy people. All of them run companies. They're busy. I don't want to talk to people either. I'm busy.
Yeah.
You're busy. It doesn't matter how much you make. We just don't want to talk to people anymore. I don't know.
So we have a question in the chat from a guest attendee today. They want to ask about the 5-year plan we mentioned. They want to know if you have a template that you use for your 5-year travel plan, or does it just come down to the conversation that you have with them?
It's kind of a la carte with the conversation. A template would be too much work for people. People don't want to fill out things. You want them to be like, hey, just send me over 5 things. Sometimes they'll send over 10. Or you hear it as they're going and I'll just jot it down. Hey, I hear that you're saying you like these destinations. Let's put these on for here. So you're kind of creating it. You don't want to people don't want to fill out templates. They don't want to fill out intake forms. You're not going to get those back.
I mean, that seems like a good tip. I mean, I know we're talking about luxury clients today, but it seems like a good thing to do for all clients, because the people on the lower end of maybe the income might have to plan financially to take the kind of travel they want to take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All of these tips work for wherever you're at. It's just clients evolve over time and I do feel like you have to be a couple of years in the industry to start attracting luxury clients, because you need to get those destinations under your belt. So you as an advisor also needs to have a 5-year plan of like, hey, I want to get into the river cruise market. I'm going to start investing maybe in the ASTA conference for the river cruise, or I'm going to do my first river cruise on the AMA fam trip. You need to have your own five-year plan too. And that needs to be part of your business development plan of what you're going to sell, because in the higher end range, you really need to have experience in that destination. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go everywhere. I saw a lot of Maldives and I never spend any time over there. It's just not a place I want to go all the time. You can still sell destinations and sell them like a boss, but you need to have a plan of what you want to sell to. And if it's always just going to the Mexico and Caribbean, then you're always going to probably attract Mexico and Caribbean.
Yeah. So I have another question in the chat, and this guest wants to know about, you mentioned the booking window being close in.
Yeah.
They seem to think traditionally it's for these high net worth clients that hasn't been the case. And is that a result of just sort of what's happened to COVID and the demand's been sort of
people are generally planned. I would say people in professional fields like doctors, dentists, they have set weeks every year that they can travel. And so they were always like, hey, we've got to get next Christmas on the books far out. Like my tech people who are kind of retired doing a lot of different things, they tend to have a shorter booking window because they'll just go on a whim because they don't have as many like tied down responsibilities. It depends what you're targeting. Even
I'm curious,
if you're targeting
Angela,
your teachers, they're doing short. Right now, we're just doing short term. People are doing crazy things tomorrow.
I don't know if you could even answer this question, but you mentioned all those sort of professions that you have in your client base. Are there any new ones? Are there any new professions that seem to have popped up that have that ultra net worth now and are looking to travel? Like I know
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked that, because yes, millennials are probably one of the, now this is so crazy. Millennials are probably the next biggest thing for like big premium luxury travel. They're moving up the scale, and that's a tricky place to be because those millennials don't even know what a travel advisor is really. And so that's a whole different animal to tackle of how to attract them, because they're ones that will go out and get the Airbnb and work remotely. I just sat on a plane next to a digital nomad, and he was like, what do you do? I mean, younger people kind of don't know what we do. So
Well, how do you present yourself to? We've had conversation on this program about what you call yourselves, and you mentioned the World Travel Advisor. I know there's still a ton of advisors out there who call themselves agents, and I know that is sort of fading out. But is there a special term you use to describe what you do with your clients?
yeah, I say I own a luxury travel consultancy business. I try to stay away from the word agency. I mean, I say I run an agency, but I say I run a consulting business.
Okay.
And for some reason, I don't know why that resonates with me, but I like that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
run a consulting business, and here's what we do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
think
know
you
we've
can have
had
one
we.
line about what you do, but it needs to be natural and authentic. Everything needs to be authentic that you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I want to give you a couple minutes because we're sort of at the end of our time here to
Yeah.
wrap up. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat and maybe we can get to them at the end. We just dropped the link to today's session. It'll be fully available tomorrow morning at the very latest. But I mean, do you have anything else you want to add, Angela? I know we've covered a lot today, and we've gone to a lot. But is there anything else you think is particularly powerful or compelling that you just want to mention as we finish up today?
Yeah. I feel like at the end of almost every lecture I give or talk I give, I feel like it all comes down to you. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there. If you're shy, you better get over it because you need to market yourself. It's not going to be enough to sit behind a computer and try to attract people. So I would say invest in yourself, invest in you as a person, and as part of your long-term business plan, invest in other people. Have that be once you've made your money, invest it back in helping other people. I mean, it's that simple. When you love yourself, you're good inside with yourself, things roll for your business. So good people attract and create good businesses. So
Well, again, I mentioned at the beginning of the call, but I really can't thank you enough for all your expertise and all your wisdom today. Again, if anyone wants to rewatch this, it will be live by later tonight, probably the latest tomorrow morning. And if anyone wants to hear more from Angela, I know you're joining us in Toronto at Travel Marketplace at the end of November.
so excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So thank you again. Thank you for all the attendees on the call. I hope to see you all back here in 2 weeks when we're talking about hiring and firing ICs. I know that's a big topic too. So I hope to see you all then. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your week and weekend, and everyone stay safe.
See you later.